It's the Matt College Show. It's the Matt College Show.
Yeah. Stuff like that. Hey, it's episode 22, the double deuce of the Matt College Show. Yeah, coffee and cannabis. I have drunk, I believe that's the right word, quite a bit of coffee this morning, and I have smoked a bowl of cannabis, and just kind of the last bits of a couple of jars, one of which is Blue Dream, the other of which is Rosanna, something like that. One of those strains I've been seeing lately with the really super dark red, purple, almost black. It's cool to see what that plant can do. Woo! Huge week for the show. It continues. Oh my God. 1 week has passed since Microorganism has been released. Today is Friday, May 21st, 2021. And Microorganism, of course, was released on 5/14/2021. So I didn't plan on having these podcasts out after the album was released. In fact, I wanted to have all of them out before the album was released. And now here I am 1 week after I did, in fact, or after the album did, in fact, become available. And I have a different perspective than I thought I would have. As I record this, I didn't expect that a week would have passed as I was recording episode 22, talking about what I'm about to talk about, which is going to be the final third, I guess, of the story, January 1st, 2021 till, I guess, today, the release of the album and beyond. Yeah. It's been a fun week. Can you believe it's been a week? I can't. I kind of wanted to get 1,000 streams. Well, I decided kind of on Monday, I think, I put a post out there on Instagram saying I wanted to get 1,000 streams. Can we do it? Let's make it happen. Because at that point, I had just over 300, and I think now I have like 430 something like that. And I myself have gotten sick of listening to the album, so I can't do it myself. Friends, can you help me? I think, we're not at 1,000 streams, obviously, on Spotify, but I think perhaps it is possible that Microorganism has reached 1,000 streams altogether on the, I think it's available on like 20 or so streaming services. Plus, it's available to purchase on mattcolic.com and bandcamp.com. You can check out my artist profile. It will be in the show notes. It's everywhere on my website these days. So it's available for purchase. It's available for streaming. I think altogether on the streaming platforms, it's possible that it reached 1,000 streams altogether in the last week since it's been released. So thank you so much, friends, for listening to the album, for purchasing the album. I really didn't have too many expectations about about who would listen to it, how many people would listen to it, anything like that, about having anybody purchase it. I was so focused on just having it out there, and everything else has just been kind of gravy, to be honest. But then also, to be honest, I have to admit that, there's so much fucking data available, there's so many statistics, so much information that it's like stoking a lot of ego stuff for me. Like I can kind of tell, like, who, and also there's people who have reached out and people who have not reached out. Hey, what's going on? Have they listened to it? Why haven't they listened to it? Are they mad at me? Shit. And then, of course, there's all the family stuff, and like, are they listen? Have they listened to it? I can see who's checking out the website, but also, like, I don't know everything. Spotify and the streaming services, Apple Music, Deezer, etc., and my distributor DistroKid. Hey, if you sign up for DistroKid, make sure you use my link to get some amount off, and then I get some kind of bonus out of that too. So anyway, I can see a lot of data, and like with that data, with that information, with those numbers, it's really easy for me to tell myself a lot of stories, and I'm really accustomed to telling myself a lot of negative stories about shit. So that's been interesting. It's been interesting, and I guess not entirely unexpected. But also, like I said, I didn't come into this with expectations, but now a week has passed, and like, it's really easy to just go check out that Spotify for Artists app on my phone, and see if the stream count has risen, see if anybody is listening right now. That's a piece of information they give you. Like who is listening right now, not who is listening, but how many people are listening right now. Stuff like that. I can see what cities people are listening in. Really, really interesting. So there's that. It's been going well. The headline is I'm super grateful, and I'm still like on a high about having the album out there, and the response to it has been fantastic, and like we're still working on getting it in as many ears as possible, and like I'm super grateful, and like it's exceeded my expectations, the response to the album so far, and I'm happy to have actually done a little bit of like promotion and getting stuff out there, and getting this podcast done has been important. Grateful for my ability to do that and post on social media, and kind of give it a little bit more of a push too than I expected to have energy for or interest in, because I am proud of the album. I think it's pretty good, and I think people, if they listen to it, if they're into this kind of thing, will like it. So this week of pushing the album, that's just kind of one thing, and that's kind of how it goes for the traditional album release cycle. There's a lot of build up, and then the album comes out, and there's kind of a little bit of a push after that, and then it just kind of dies down. But for Microorganism, we're doing things a little bit differently. This initial push, yes, it may die down, and I know people are going to continue listening to the album because, again, it's good, and I think people are like have identified favorite tracks that they're like coming back to, and that feels really good too. And so it's got a little bit of momentum now, but Annie and I want to really keep it going with the aforementioned 700 program. What we're trying to do basically is sell 700 copies, digital copies of Microorganism for $7 at least, and thus get $5,000 basically, $4,900 technically, but I'll add another 100 to it. And that's what we're trying to do. And it's a way to kind of get people involved in a goal. And it's a way for like people to, and I want people to feel like this is a community. This is family. This is like come on board. Like if you're into the album, if you're into the music, then like you're probably my kind of people. And I probably want to hang out with you. And, I think it would be cool to have you help me, and like we can all make this world a little bit cooler. I don't know. It's not like I'm saying I'm your captain or anything like that. But hey, if you dig the music, I've got an album out. Listen to it. Spread the word. Tell your friends about it. If you leave the house, just put it on your streaming service of choice and on repeat, all that. And anyway, we're trying to make Microorganism into a macroorganism, more of a macroorganism, I guess. We want to do a vinyl release eventually, and we're going to be going on the road. That's a really, really big thing that we're now focused on in our lives, is hitting the road and kind of spreading the word about the album while traveling across this great land of ours. There's a lot of ideas we got cooking. We haven't like kind of set anything in stone for it, but the headline is, talking about headlines, $700 for an album. This album being Microorganism, my solo debut. Pretty cheap. Yeah, of course, it is only 7 songs, but it is, a full and satiating piece of music, I think. About 28 minutes, just shy of 28 minutes, Microorganism. So yeah, stay tuned for additional details about that. The aforementioned Annie Sanchez, who you heard on episode 20 of the Matt Colic Show podcast, she's going to be coming back today on this episode 22, to talk about her other one of her contributions to the album Everybody Ascends, which is the album closer, track 7. You heard a pretty lengthy interview with her way back in episode 20, and this is a little bit of that same interview that was more than a week ago, but she had some stuff to talk about, specifically about that song. Today we're going to get into, like I said, the final third of making the album, January through today of 2021. If you haven't heard the previous episodes, this is a trilogy. Go and do that. Yeah, we're going to be covering that. We're going to be covering the final 2 tracks on the album, Jump on Top of the World with Me and Everybody Ascends, featuring Annie Sanchez. Yeah, I love the fact, this has been fun. I think I mentioned this on the previous episode. Close to, if not more than, 6 hours of podcasts documenting an album that's only about 28 minutes long. Really cool. All right, I'm going to take a break in a second. Oh, I wanted to mention, interesting how memory shifts and all that, and there's also unreliable documentation. New things come up, new memories, new discoveries, new things are found. This morning, Annie was telling me she thinks she wrote Everybody Needs To, track 1 on the album, later than what she was sure of. She thought she wrote it in April of 2020. Now she thinks it's more like definitely May. She said she thought her belly growls, her heart aches. I think those are the words. Geez, I should have them seared in my memory. But you know the words I'm talking about. She told me they were inspired by Breonna Taylor. And she remembers writing them sitting on the sand in the bosque next to the river. In one of those warm days of May last year, 2020, thinking of Breonna Taylor. So that's, wow, much more depth and information. And yeah, I'm so, again, so pleased. So like, my heart is so full knowing that Annie, my sweetie, contributed so much and so much meaning to this album, Microorganism. Again, she will be on the podcast later. Stay tuned for that as we go in depth on the track Everybody Ascends, track 7 on the album. Another thing I uncovered in a note about Everybody's Got a Beard of Bees these days, which is kind of emerging as the standout track on the album. It is, of course, the centerpiece. It takes up more than 25% of the runtime. It's kind of an epic. It's kind of like, a Pink Floydian / Weenian epic, in a way, kind of Radioheadian, perhaps. This note I uncovered, it says, it's just going to be a quick, fun, dumb little ditty. A ditty. It was just going to be a ditty, I wrote. That was a note I uncovered recently that I don't know why I failed to uncover it for the previous episode in which I went in depth on Everybody's Got a Beard of Bees these days. That's really funny. And I think I mentioned playing that live. And yes, originally it was going to be like a really, really fast punk song. But then I just there were all these verses emerging. In fact, I cut out a verse or two. I think I cut out the right ones too. I was looking at them, like I say, a verse or two. I think there was just one and then some notes about a second one. And I'm happy the verses that ended up in the song are the ones that ended up in the song. Yeah, it was just going to be like a quick little tossed off punk rock ditty, and it turned into this epic thing. Yeah, it's funny how that shit works out. So yeah, this is the Matt Kollick Show. This is episode 22. Make sure you check out all the episodes leading up to this one, especially 2021 and now this one. If you want to know all about the making of my new album, Microorganism. Listen to it on your streaming service of choice. Buy it on bandcamp.com. Buy it on mattkollick.com. That is the website, mattkollock.com. The Patreon is patreon.com/Matt Kollick. I keep saying I'm going to be putting stuff up there. And I will. There is already a lot of really cool shit up there. You can kind of witness the evolution of me through the pandemic in a lot of ways that I didn't post about on social media. So that's interesting. Yeah, and there's a lot of shit there. There are bonus episodes of the podcast, one in which I talk about some movies that were watched during the time period I'm talking about today. So, and it is... it's just it's probably the best way to support me on a continuous, whatever the proper word is there, basis. You can subscribe to me, and then I keep putting stuff out, and like everybody wins, and I can keep this thing afloat. And we can make more albums. Woo! Shout out to all the listeners, new and old. Glad to have you here. Thank you. So yeah, like I said, today we're going to be covering January through today, the final third, the final push. Everything had basically been recorded at this point. How do I pull it all together? Is it going to be any good? Can I actually do this? We're going to be covering tracks 6 and 7 on the album, Jump on Top of the World with Me, and Everybody Ascends, featuring Annie Sanchez. Annie's going to be back to talk a little bit about Everybody Ascends, more of my interview with her. All right, taking that break right now. Let's get into it as quickly as possible. Break. And we're back. Woo. It is, all of a sudden kind of a gloomy day out. It's like we're getting monsoon season here pretty early. It should be like July, August, September, and it's, of course, only May. Shout out to Justin Timberlake. A couple of things, guitar things. I think I mentioned in the previous episode 21 of the Matt Kollick Show, that I purchased a new guitar, a used guitar, but a new guitar for me, a Charvel Pro Mod DK24 HSH. There may be more to the model number than that, but it's basically a 24 fret humbucker, single coil humbucker configuration guitar with a shredder's heel, like a sculpted heel of the guitar where the neck meets the body. So there's easier access for those noodly, widdly, widdly stuff notes and the higher registers on the upper frets. Which really, I think for me, having 24 frets is a way to kind of make the frets past fret 12 more accessible versus like having those extra 2 frets. It just kind of opens up the rest of the neck a little more, which is something I'm pretty excited about. I have been saying I've never had a guitar with 2 humbuckers before, but I have. Briefly, I had a 90s, like a 1992 Paul Reed Smith, like one of the original 90s ones that I had when I was a teenager, which I think today is worth like tens of thousands of dollars, probably, something like that. A super nice guitar. I didn't really know what I was doing with it at that age when I was 15, 16 years old. Thank you, Dad, for getting me that guitar and for taking me to the store later to trade that guitar in for a Fender Blues Deluxe amp that I got rid of like a year later, and but hey, here we are. I'm super fucking jazzed to get this guitar, the Charvel, in Army Drab. Other guitar news: I put the original pickups back into the Matito Caster, the really shitty, the guitar I got for $128 that I put several $100s into to make it the instrument I used on the album. I used Fishman Fluence pickups in that guitar, which are really fancy, supposedly noiseless pickups, but I was getting a lot of problems with them. But those were the pickups I used in that guitar, and that was the one electric guitar I used on the album, Microorganism. I finally sent those pickups back into Fishman for warranty work because it had been less than a year and they were under warranty, and they're going to send me brand new pickups, a brand new loaded pick guard, and a brand new battery pack. They found some problems, and so until I get those back from Fishman, which will be soon, I thought it would be fun to just as a project and a fun thing to do for and by myself to wire the old pickups back into the Matitocaster. So I've been having fun the last couple of days just fucking around with that. Those things sound terrible, but also like they're kind of fun in a greasy, dirty, junky, funky kind of way. Anyway, guitar stuff, really, really exciting. It's fun to get back into guitar stuff. It's fun to get back into songwriting. I worked on songwriting a little bit last night, dipping my toes back into the songwriting waters, dipping my songwriting toes back into the songwriting waters. I'm excited for the next batch. Anyway, that's not why we're here. Let's get back. Let's go back to January 2021. Oh, quick sip of water, which means in like probably 45 seconds, there will be a quick break for a burp. Yes, I'm sure you're growing accustomed to the unique rhythms and patterns of the Matt Colic Show. So yeah, January 2021, all that family shit happening. It was a heavy time in the world and in the country, and of course there was the final days of the previous presidential administration here in the United States. All that. There was the whole January 6th thing, which, look it up. I'm not here to talk about what happened on January 6th. We all know. It was, fucking clowns, disgusting clowns. Clowns with all that weaponry, you might say. So family stuff, the anniversary of my brother's passing, January 5th. My brother John, he passed away on January 5th. 2011, which was 10 years ago. Unbelievable. Lots happened since then, let me tell you. I had written that blog post, but I had not heard anything from anyone in the week or so since it had come out. I could see, speaking of those statistics, those numbers, that data that people in the world, in my life, in my family, were reading the blog post, were checking out the website. Some of them continue to check out the website daily to this day. Thank you. Thanks for sending traffic to the site. I appreciate it. But I hadn't heard anything from anybody. Quite a contrast from the response I was getting from friends, chosen family, and fellow survivors of the experiences I outlined in that blog post, again entitled Dear Little Matt. You can find it on the website. I really was, honestly, like there was a lot of like hurt and a lot of like anger and a lot of like unpleasant feelings, certainly, and a lot of like expressing of unpleasantness and a lot of like vitriol came out. Yeah, this is family. That kind of shit happens in family, and I was honestly ready to heal. To transition to something, to take all the truth of my story into the story of my family. They were not interested in that. I have never heard from my sister again. She has blocked me on social media, etc., etc. And various family members have stopped following me on social media, all that. I started, my paranoid brain started thinking, geez, what the fuck are they doing? Like, they can't handle a blog post and me, like, telling my mom to fuck off. Which happened on January 7th. I told my mom to fuck off. She had sent some weird texts to Annie, in a weird terse text to me. Just saying, call me. I think she had called and not left any messages around the beginning of the year. the anniversary of my brother's death and all that had passed. And she sent texts to Annie saying, "Hey, is Matt all right? What's going on? Are you taking care of Matt?" Like, what the fuck? How insulting. How insulting. But I forgive her. I want to get past that. I can understand. I don't agree with, but I can understand why that's her position and that's where she's coming from. But it also really speaks to how she doesn't know me and doesn't care to know me, doesn't care to accept me for who I am and what I'm all about. Fucking crazy shit, man. This was all happening, of course, and also in my notes around this time, I'm telling myself, Matt, you just need one big push to get this album done. So again, heavy time in the world, in my life, and I was really, throughout all this, I was actually really thinking a lot about the album too, and pushing to get it done. Fucking crazy. I did honestly want to heal. I had a lot of shit to get out too. And I still want to heal. And I still have a lot of shit to get out. This is a big low point in my life. January 7th. God damn. My mom, I remember on that call before we got into it, said that she had just been to the dentist. I've been going to the dentist. I just went yesterday, in fact, to get 4 cavities filled. I have 3 appointments coming up in the next month to get the rest of them taken care of, but that's not why we're here. Man, there was all this stuff on the anniversary of my brother's death, January 5th, on social media before I stopped following a lot of them because, fuck it. Social media, they were remembering John, and then all these people are ignoring me and what I'm going through, the reliving of trauma, childhood trauma. I was there for John. I was there for him. I helped him use the bathroom in his final days. I was there for him. Where were you? And now where are you for me? You tell me you're so concerned about me. And yet you cut me out. Great. Yeah, I see what you're all about. So anyway, this was such a dark and low time. Being abandoned, gaslit by my family. I've talked about all this before on the podcast. You can go back and listen. Man, talking about the album being like just needing a push, but also like, fuck, this is not a priority. Like, how can I give it a push when all this is going on? Jesus. Man, I felt like really volatile on that day after talking to my mom. Went on a really long walk, as I am prone to do, and came back and decided I need to start seeing a therapist immediately, like a good one to talk about this kind of shit. Annie put in some calls, and we found somebody. She found somebody who found somebody, and we worked it out. And I was able to talk to somebody the next day, and every week since. Thank you, my therapist Venus, who's wonderful, and it's really, really helping me work through the shit. So yeah, January. Early January. Cassidy, my daughter, she turned 21 on the 10th. I think she's one of the people who's no longer following me on social media. Around this time, I'm just feeling super irritable and raw, angry. Like I'm still carrying a lot of that anger now, and like flowing with it to the best of my ability and working through it, and like, honoring it to the extent that it can be helpful. But back in those days, oh my God, so raw. I was losing myself in the walks, losing myself in the guitar. doing those Instagram live things with improvised guitar solos and stuff. That was a lot of fun. That was a good time. I'm excited to get back into that. I definitely want to make that a part of the Matt Colic experience online as I get these electric guitars back and working in my possession. Yeah. In my journal, I talk a lot about being open to working on the album. I could work on it, or I'll just watch a movie. I can do the self-care thing. Like, there's a lot of that going on. Speaking of the dentist, I saw the dentist yesterday, but I also saw him for the first time in about 25 years. This is why I have so many cavities, because I saw the dentist for the first time on January 14th. Then they revealed that I had to get one of my wisdom teeth removed. Fun stuff. I had to get my insurance together again and all that. So much non-album making stuff happening. Oral surgery was scheduled. Part of our quarantine crew, our niece and nephews, the kids, who we see as much as we can, other delightful little beings, 3 of them. Around this time, we made an escape room for them in the house here. We didn't go to one, and we tried to. Man, we have the plan and we have everything written down, so we're excited to start doing it for our friends and adapt it to maybe different places as we move forward. But anyway, the kids solved it in about 38 minutes. We had hoped that it would take the full hour, but anyway, shout out to Eddie the Elephant Edwards, the main character in the escape room storyline narrative that we created. That was a lot of fun. That was a really fun creative project that had nothing to do with anything in my life at that time, except for focusing on like what's going to be the most fun and challenging for those kids. While those kids were here that weekend, I received a letter from my brother, which I think I've talked about on the podcast. That was a damn thing. And so, yeah, that's when I returned from a pretty long hiatus of the show with episode 16, the return of the Matt Colic Show. Gosh, I'm glad to be back. This is like the 6th episode back, I guess. Man, just feeling so condescended to and disgusted, and like all these memories and traumatic memories are coming up and like surfacing at that time. I remembered how I lost my mullet, which was like violent and like haha at the time circumstances, but looking back was like, what the fuck? What the fuck is wrong with you people? Holding me down and cutting my hair off, and then like I come home from school and like nothing happens. What the fuck kind of fucked up culture did I come up in? I'm so glad to be away from any of that. Ugh. God bless you, Wisconsin and cold cultures, but not my thing. Nice to visit sometimes. Like maybe we'll hit Door County once every 6 or 7 years, but oof. Yeah. Around this time, getting into the Terrence Malick movies, Badlands, Days of Heaven. What's the other one? The Thin Red Line. And oh my God, my favorite one of my top 5 films of all time, The New World. That's such a great movie, so emotional. I processed a lot of the emotional stuff through watching those Terrence Malick movies. Watched the Frank Zappa documentary. Man, so much not working on the album. I was thinking about taking down the blanket fort here in the studio, which of course I had set up to record vocals, but now it was just kind of making shit like super inconvenient in here, and I wasn't working on the album, and yet that thing was up reminding me of the album. I had been leaving it up just in case I needed to redo any vocals, but it was just kind of getting in the way. Watched MacGruber. I love that movie. Thank you, MacGruber. There was more talk of leaving this house, going on the road. We thought we might be living in a bus for a little while. There was just all these different things popping up and then kind of receding. Man, I started putting the lyrics for the tracks on the album on the website. Watched a bunch of movies the last weekend of the month. I talked about these movies on a special bonus episode of the podcast, which can be found on Patreon, patreon.com/Matt Colic. We watched Space is the Place, the Sun Ra movie, Purple Rain, the Prince film, The Devil Wears Prada, Born in Flames, the aforementioned MacGruber. preparing to get that tooth extracted at the beginning of the next month. There was all that pain in my body, carrying so much pain. It was manifesting as like chest pains and like pains in my trapezius. And thank goodness, like I knew what it was all about and didn't like overthink it and like overreact to it. And I just had to work it out, stretch, work with a lacrosse ball, and like fucking find the nodes in my muscles where I was holding the tension. And thank you. Release. So glad I know about that. And that kind of pain relief, which is like kind of going, of course, toward the pain to relieve it. There's no way around it, but it's so worth it. So relieving. February 2021, had my tooth removed on Groundhog Day, February 2nd. That was a pretty psychedelic experience, and it went pretty well. I had to refrain for a week from smoking cannabis, so I ate tons and tons of edibles. There was some oxycodone too. Got to be careful with that shit. Sedation is so fucking weird, man. Around that time, I was preparing to be on my friend Jasmine's podcast, Archives for Aliens. Shout out to Jasmine. She lives in the St. Louis area, and she has the aforementioned Archives for Aliens podcast. I was on episode 14 of that program. Of course, Microorganism was conceived on March 14th and released on May 14th, 14 months later, and I was on episode 14 of Archives for Aliens. Hey, Jasmine just purchased a copy of the album Microorganism on Bandcamp. You can do that too, to support me and support Annie and support our lives and support the music. And thank you so much, Jasmine. Shout out to you. I really, really appreciate your art. Unus Mundus Art is the moniker she goes by for that purpose. I'm looking at her art right now. Really happy to be connected with her and the community we're a part of. Yeah, so being on that podcast kind of provided me with a reason to get a couple of songs mixed and ready. I was going to try to get Jump on Top of the World with me and Giving the Game Away ready, because I felt like they were kind of the closest. If I really pushed, I could get those mixed and ready to go. That did not happen. I ended up giving her some acoustic versions of the songs that I just recorded special for her show, the podcast. And but anyway, it kind of got me back into making the album. We recorded that podcast on Super Bowl Sunday while the Super Bowl was happening. That was fun. So different from the Super Bowl 10 years prior where I was all in it. Yeah. So back into the album, starting to prepare for Annie's big birthday coming up, getting people involved, people involving me, planning on a big trip, taking the kitty with us, a lot of stress and anxiety with that. And the family shit is also happening, also going to therapy, also trying to work on the album. This is when I sent Byron some money. Shout out to Byron of byronamplification.com. I sent him some money to start building me a custom amplifier, which I am really, really excited to upgrade to. I need to send him some more money soon and see what the progress is on that. Don't need it obviously yet, but also like, I'm excited. He makes nothing but the best shit for guitar. I'm really bonding at this time and starting to get increasingly involved with the Church of Chill community, which Jasmine, Unus Mundus Art, she's a part of. There's just this feeling of trying to keep a bunch of plates spinning as I work to complete the album, while also trying to keep the website updated regularly. I haven't posted a blog in a while. I need to do another podcast. Like, just trying to keep the fire going. So when I release the album, there are people to release it too. It's a lot, but it's like that's kind of how it is, and I'm doing all right. All things considered. Man, there are times at this moment when I'm like at that moment when it's like, geez, I should get in there and mix, but I think I'm just going to watch a movie or something, watch some TV, watch YouTube. I started spending a lot of time on guitar stuff again, obsessing a little bit again, buying more pedals, rearranging the pedal board. Got more pedals from Byron. Hello, Breathe, Vibe, Viper Ninja, and Deluxe Again, Delay. Got rid of the Lucky Cat delay, the JHS Lucky Cat delay, and some others. Getting more and more anxious and stressed out as Annie's birthday approaches with all the planning and travel and with everything that's going on. Man, I actually had a really big mixing day on February 21st. I realized kind of how much I needed to. I wasn't ready for mixing is what I realized. I needed to actually edit and comp parts that I thought I was satisfied with, but wasn't quite. I realized no amount of EQing or compression or reverb or delay or flanging or phasing or anything else was going to doubling, what have you, was going to make it better. I needed to really, really get down to the editing and tighten shit up that way before I got into like what is technically the mixing part. I thought I had done all the editing, but no, it's not good enough. I need to do more. I need to tighten it up. I need to get that fucker into shape. I need to cut a lot of shit, especially. I realized I needed to actually record another vocal part for Jump on Top of the World with me. I wasn't feeling like there was a lead vocal. I had recorded all these layers, but it just felt like background vocals in the climactic, most important part of the song. We saw the sun around the corner, that area. And so, I need to record more vocals. So I was thinking about that a lot and kind of feeling a little intimidated by everything I still had to do and how much more like there was than I thought there was. On February 23rd, we had our big vinyl day, Annie and me. It was part of her birthday. I purchased a record player, a turntable for us, and a bunch of records. Yes, we are into vinyl now. Bunch of records. It was just us at home with the kitty, hanging out, listening to records and chilling out, and it was a lot of fun. It was great to take a break from everything that was going on in both of our lives. I got us, I think, 8 or 10 records to start, some classic hip hop. For Annie, some shit by some, artists I like, Mahavishnu Orchestra, a Los Lobos album. Really cool to have like records now in our house. Since then, we've gotten a few more, including records by local greats, Alonerly and The Ordinary Things. Yes, there will be microorganism vinyl in the near future. Not a huge priority now, but we're focusing on the digital release now, but there will be a vinyl release at some point in the future. Man, we got up to Pagosa Springs on February 26th. We brought Mantequilla the kitty with us. Woo, that was an adventure, but she did all right. We did all right. We got up there. It's like a 6-hour drive, something like that. We fucking did it. Wow, what an amazing mountain getaway that was for Annie's birthday. It was at a place called Mask Ranch, interestingly, during the pandemic. Pagosa Springs, Colorado, but up into the mountains out of town on a gravel road with a gate that we had to have the code for. And it was an Airbnb, but super fucking nice and rustic and beautiful. There had been snow, so it was kind of cold and like we were like, oh fuck, we were trudging through. We were just going to go on some walks, but fuck, it's like we were actually knee deep in some of these drifts of snow. Beautiful views, fucking hot tub every day, multiple times a day in that hot tub. Man, what a beautiful, beautiful time that was. And it was really great to kind of open up our minds while we were there, be in a different place with our family, me, Annie, and Mantequilla. There were stairs, like stairs with like slots in between. That was like Mantequilla's favorite thing ever. How awful to bring that poor kitty back to this little place, but we had to do it. I actually worked on a little bit of songwriting up there, just a little, nothing finished, but I made a little bit of progress on some upcoming things. Yeah, that was February. March 2021. Damn. More water. I think I'm going to have another sip of coffee. Hang on. This room. Can you hear the room? Yeah. Pow! I almost just had a reaction. March 2021. Holy shit. March, of course, was like, oh my God, it's been a year of pandemic, a year of quarantine, a year of COVID. Jesus fucking Christ. It started to feel again once we got back from Annie's birthday and life got back to quote unquote normal again. It started to feel like this fucking album had to come out. It was starting to become an irritant for real at this point, and like an agitation. It had to be dealt with. I was not feeling good about it or like satisfied. We got back from Colorado and I got back to work. I started to notice more anger and irritability, largely. I'm thinking of a lonerly. Largely from the trauma, the childhood trauma, the family shit. My headspace was just so stressful. I don't know if I really realized that until much later. And kind of looking back at the notes, my journal entries from this time, and again, like this, that's why these podcasts have been like so long. So it's taken so much time, and the making of them has been so, it's been a lot more than I thought, was because just there's so much revisiting. And not only revisiting all that from back in January, February, March, but revisiting all the revisiting. And that time I was revisiting so much childhood trauma and so much shitty shit that in the last week or so, as I've been going over those journal entries and making the notes for these podcasts, it's been revisiting all that. So, fractals, man. Oh, there's that burp. Yeah. There were so many times I thought to myself, I wanted to drive to Wisconsin and punch people in the face. That kind of energy. Thank goodness I had the music. I was still like playing guitar and singing songs, going on long walks. I had the music. Thank you, music. I felt that driving to Wisconsin and punching people in the face was actually a sensible thing to do with my time and energy. Oh, thank you for my therapist. Talk through that stuff versus spending a lot of wasting a lot of time and energy and money, resources going to Wisconsin to hurt my hand on people who don't care about me. I watched the Kurt Cobain montage of Heck documentary around that time. God, so fucking depressing, that documentary. I was getting really into Nirvana music a lot more around that time, and it had continued, as you'll hear later, like learning songs Kurt Cobain wrote. But that documentary, especially the last half, the Kurt and Courtney stuff, the heroin stuff, the end days stuff, so depressing. It was really reminding me of the days before my spiritual awakening, which was that time, 6 years ago. Yeah, wow. In spite of all the darkness, particularly in the final half of that movie, I was really inspired by it. Kurt and his constant, almost obsessive need to create and put stuff out there. I want to be more like that. I want to waste less time not making shit. I keep thinking about and talking about input and output. Like, there was a time in my life where it was all about the input, taking things in, and like there's so much to take in, and I want it all. I want to know about all of it. I want to be well versed on so much of it and all of it. Now I'm so full. I'm so full of stuff. I want to output. I want to write more songs. I want to record more songs. So Kurt Cobain was just constantly creating and making and releasing and like sharing, and obviously there was a lot of stuff he didn't share in his journals, which I don't know. I don't know if it's right that all that stuff is now publicly available, but there it is. Yeah. Man, like I said, the time and place, the feeling just before I had my big awakening back in 2015. I was learning more and more Nirvana songs. I noticed a big difference between me and him, Kurt. Kurt Cobain is how he embraced and accepted his own artistic nature as a child and as a teen in his 20s. I was always ready to have people tell me what they thought of what I should be doing, and I wanted to acquiesce to them. And I thought that was the right way to be versus protecting and fighting for being a champion of my artistic self. Kurt Cobain was a champion of his artistic self. Fuck the world. I am what I am. I know what I'm here to do. I haven't discovered that until recently. That's why I only have my solo debut album out now. In spite of having, the talent, resources, ability, creative energy to have made an album all these years. Anyway. So yeah, that was something that really, I don't know, all the Kurt Cobain stuff that I was thinking about, that I was immersing myself in around this time, was really having me think a lot about that and about myself. I was also struck by just how feral 90s people were. We just didn't know stuff at that time. We were just kind of wild, crazy. People are just more raw and more just more feral. I don't know how else to put it. We didn't know how to be. We didn't know how to talk about our feelings and all that. Man, we've really come a long way. For as much as people are hand-wringing about the world being torn down, this is such a better place. This is such a better place where we have empathy, where we give a shit about people's feelings. And maybe the way we're tearing the old world down is inelegant, and maybe it's people are getting a little hurt along the way, but that's it's not important compared to what's happening in the world that's emerging from the ashes of that one. We're in such a better place now. I can talk about my feelings now. So can you. And I don't feel like it reveals something awful or embarrassing or humiliating about me at all. It's what is special. It's what's good about me. It's what connects me to other people. It's what connects others to me, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, we've come a long way. So, yeah, a lot of low days in that first couple of weeks of the month, kind of just low grade depression, just kind of a lack of energy. A lot of hovering and hanging out just below 10 on my scale. It was getting annoying. We watched I watched it first and then Annie watched it later. It kind of feels like now that we watched it together, but we did not. This is the Life documentary about the good life scene of LA in the 90s, featuring people like Charlie Tuna, AC Alone, a lot of rappers, a lot of hip hop artists who probably should have emerged and become more popular than they did, but the focus at that time was on the New York scene and the gangster shit coming out of LA, not the positive vibes stuff of the good life scene. But so many talented MCs and artists. And it was one of Ava DuVernay's first films, actually. She was actually part of that scene and as part of a duo whose name I can't remember. She went by Eve at the time, but she directed and I believe edited this film about that scene, and it was really cool. It made me think of, man, I want a scene. I want a scene to be a part of, and can it happen in this particular geographical area? Gosh, I don't know. It's so hard to relate to people. I respect the musicians here so much. There's so much talent, but it's so hard to connect, and it's I don't feel the love so much. I don't feel like when I'm playing my brewery shows or whatever, sending, Facebook, RIP my existence on Facebook, but sending messages or trying to promote myself on, Instagram or anything where I have some amount of local reach. It's been tough. It's been tough. And it's there isn't a place there here for me. And so, at least not yet. And so I kind of want to, part of the thing I want to get away from is thinking of the local scene as being important. And yet, when it works, it can be so rich and powerful and such a fertile ground for people to really boost to their careers to the next level, and for people to help each other out. And I feel like my scene is not not in a geographical area. I feel like it's online. I feel like it's in communities like Church of Chill. God bless you, Church of Chill. So yeah, interesting stuff. Our coffee maker stopped working around the 10th. We got a fancy new one, which I'm about to take a sip of some coffee it made. Pow. That came in handy during the final push of mixing, as it is handy today. Mixing was getting really frustrating around this time. I wasn't liking anything. I kind of hated everything on the album. I was thinking a lot of stuff was just fucking dumb and uninspired. I started getting lost not only in guitar shit, but the latest Adam Curtis documentary, Can't Get You Out of My Head. Oh, so many ideas. That was a big distraction with my late night dives into YouTube. I was trying to jump into a new and different timeline. How do I get to the place where the album is finished and it is good? It felt so far away in March. There was yet another round of doing day job stuff. God damn it. Edits for the final book I ghost wrote for one of my clients. And hopefully that's the last shit I ever have to do. I started recording new vocals for one of the sections in Jump on Top of the World with Me on March 12th. Remember, I had the realization that there was no real lead vocal line, so that's what I did on March 12th with a handheld microphone. That was pretty fun and cool. Like, I was just playing guitar and like singing songs one day, and I thought, ooh, my voice sounds good today. Good enough to record a take. And so that's what I did. I was starting to feel actually a little more confident as the month wore on, feeling a little more focused, especially on getting rid of stuff, getting rid of guitar parts, getting rid of like percussion parts or bringing them down a lot more in the mix, or like just taking them out and having them just pop in for little parts. That started to be a way for where the album really started coming together, and where like the energy of the songs started to like kind of surface and emerge, and like I started tapping my foot more along with the songs. I started bobbing my head more along with the songs. Killing My Darlings, Making Space, important stuff like that. The Devo album, Freedom of Choice, I think 1980, 81, something like that, was really inspirational around this time. Not that my album sounds anything like it, but like just the way it was arranged and the way it was mixed. I was really inspired by that. I started getting serious about integrating the creation of visual art into my world. Collages. I made a couple of them. Shout out to the Rift Reveals, the control panel at the center of the universe. Numbers 1 and 2. One belongs to the artist Analog Sunshine on Instagram. Find them in their work. Who happens to be a master, world-class, I shouldn't say master, a world-class collage artist. The other one belongs to Annie Sanchez, who you will hear later in this episode. We watched the Grammys. Boy, that was a snooze fest. We started getting really into the idea of container homes, watching all the YouTube videos, celebrated the 15-year anniversary of my appendix removal on St. Patrick's Day. Who was that guy? During a post-game interview after defeating the Philadelphia 76ers, Giannis Antetokounmpo of the Bucks, Milwaukee Bucks, my favorite team, said he was just trying to focus on, quote-unquote, having fun and being present. This is the key to it all. That was such a fun reminder. He has something figured out. And so thank you, Giannis. That was exactly what I needed to hear at that time. That kind of recalibrated me a little bit. Started getting even more confidence toward the end of the month. There was a little dip around the middle of the month, though. But I don't know. I was working hard on getting Annie's parts into shape. This was a lot more challenging than I expected it to be, but it was like feeling like it was worth the effort. On March 22nd, I wrote that I thought I could have the album out on April 16th or 23rd, which, hey, those dates are around 420, just like the original plan. Also around this time, I watched the David Crosby documentary, Remember My Name. Man, his girlfriend taking the kitty to the vet. that story. Have to be careful. I was realizing just how much, like, more and more, just how much tightening up the mix really makes things sound better. Like, it isn't about the compression or EQ. It's about, like, doing the little things. It's about, like, taking, like, the vocal phrases and, like, riding the volume, riding the fader, and making, like, the parts, like, that need to be louder, and, like, making the parts that need to be lower, before it goes into compression, before we put reverb on it, like, making sure the parts are lined up, like, rhythmically as tight as they can be, like, not making everything, like, exactly on the grid. No, not that. Although sometimes that can be fun and useful, but like just kind of like, we have the ability to make the phrasing exactly what it should be, the way it, as Bob Dylan would say, the way it sounds like a record. So let's fucking do that. And so that's what a lot of this time was about, just making things tight. Yeah, even using pitch correction. Yes, definitely. I feel like that's how good records are made these days, particularly if they have to be made by one person. It's hard. It's really hard to get, like, good vocal takes, and to, like, comp those vocal takes, and to do it all myself, and to, like, kind of feel good about it, and then feel like I'm done with vocals, but then go in and realize, shit, they kind of sound like shit. So, yeah, there's some pitch correction. And like I think I said in the previous episode, hopefully it sounds like there wasn't pitch correction, but yeah, there was. On vocals and other stuff too, but mostly vocals. Yeah, behind the scenes stuff there. This is how albums are made. It would be cool to do something without pitch correction. I would love to be talented enough as a vocalist, and I'm getting there. I want to get to a place where I can work with coaches and stuff on this stuff and get really, really fucking good. But that's how it is, and that's how Microorganism got made, and I'm all right with that. Shout out to Melodyne. Feeling good about stuff. Then all of a sudden, the laptop. Man, my MacBook Air, my 2017 MacBook Air, takes a shit. Can't mix anymore. Things were going so fucking well. I had a plan. I felt like I knew what I was doing. Then this shit happens. Fuck. I didn't know what to do. I felt totally stuck. I didn't give a shit for a few days. I kind of had to stew in my frustration. Fuck. Eventually, I realized that I would have to acquire a new machine. I was working with Studio One support, PreSonus support online. They were not particularly helpful. They were trying, but they were not helpful. It was like everything was going so well. Then, like, the next day, like, it just couldn't handle playback of my mixes. Like, what the fuck is going on? I have to admit, I was surprised that it had been handling the mixes so well up to that point, given, like, it was just like 8 gigabytes of RAM, and, like, the hard drive was, like, teetering on being full, and, like, almost overflowing, and, like, not the best, fastest machine, and yet it was doing so well. And it was like, all right, you're working, and, like, this is going well. I'm, like, getting really close to being done, and then all of a sudden, nope, sorry. So, man, I just kind of felt the fuck-its for a while. I started watching a new show, The Expanse. I think I got, like, 3 episodes into it. Man, kind of low days for a while there. Eventually I felt like, no. This is not what I'm here to do. Will I get back into that show, though? People like it. People love it. I was feeling pretty low, really low at the end of March, in fact. I was getting pissed off at everything for not working. It was a bad time. Like, my instruments stopped working properly. Like, there's the Matitocaster, which I talked about the pickups, and I was getting really frustrated about that shit again. Getting frustrated at the K acoustic guitar I had acquired over the summer. Like, it was doing this rattling thing. Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, nothing works. My laptop doesn't work. How I'm supposed to finish this album? Like, I can't even play any music, and it's just fucked up. In spite of that, I did, like, work on those collages, and I made a video for the Church of Chill's Art Exchange. Studio One was able to handle that, thank goodness. We got an opportunity to schedule appointments to get our first Moderna shots on April 1st. Damn. Now we're fully vaccinated, but wow, that all came together so quickly, and it was so exciting. I watched on YouTube, Surveillance Cameraman and Vagrant Holiday. I I was like, I need thrills. I need something in my life. Like I'm looking for like something changes, like new opportunities, new adventures. Like if I'm not going to be working on this album and I can't play music, what am I going to do? I did my taxes on the last day of the month with Annie's help. I'm a person who does their taxes now. And I was hoping to get some money to get that new computer so I could finish the fucking album. That's how March ended. Woo. Pow. So yeah, April 2021 rolls around. Man. Celebrated the 6-year anniversary of my spiritual awakening at the beginning of April. You can listen to the podcast for that story. It's episode 5 of the podcast. My half birthday rolls around. I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be 45 soon. That's on April 2nd. April 2nd is my half birthday. I have to finish this fucking album. Feeling a little woozy in the days after that first shot. The first shot we got on April 1st. Started playing around with the idea of living on the road for a while. Again, motivation to get this album done. If we're going to hit the road, I better have that album done, right? Considering re-entry into the world, what that looks like, what's the protocol for being vaccinated. No more quarantine life. We want to get our bodies back into shape. Right now, Annie's doing a little bit better at that than me, but I'm doing my own thing and getting there. Getting my people skills back into some kind of shape. Eat a little better. Less sugar, actually. No more sugar. Cut back on beer, alcohol. And as I'm recording this, I haven't had alcohol since early April, basically since April 1st, but like I did have, I think 64 ounces of beer on April 9th or something like that. Anyway, cutting back on cannabis. I was thinking about all that stuff on Easter Sunday. Again, listening to lots of Nirvana around the anniversary of Kurt Cobain's death at the beginning of the month. Got my stimulus check, ordered that computer, a new MacBook Air, actually refurbished, which is how I prefer to get them, with the M1 chip. Holy shit, it's fast. There is, of course, a little bit of concern being like a new processor. Is it going to work with Studio One, all that? But I didn't care. I was just going to plow forward, and this has to work. The machine is so fast and powerful, formidable. Wow. It's a huge relief. And I learned, yes, it does seem to play pretty well with Studio One. Also, no more excuses for not working on the album. I got the machine on April 8th. I have to sneeze. I'm going to just take a quick break. Woo! Man, these allergies, it's gotten breezy. Hopefully the weather, I don't know. I should take some medicine. Anyway, back. Yes, got the new machine on April 8th. And so no more excuses getting that album done. DMX passed away on April 9th. He had been in critical condition for about a week previous. So fucking sad. Undeniable, unforgettable artist. Yeah, what a loss. I released episode 19 of the Matt Kollick Show podcast on April 9th. On this episode, I made the official announcement that the album would be released on May 14th. So got that computer. It's working. No more excuses. I'm announcing a release date. Getting this fucking album done. So that's when I announced the release date of May 14th. Whew, and I stuck to it, right? I was kind of scared to say it, but it made it real. I could not fuck around anymore. And it gave me a lot of fucking momentum. I integrated like sort of a nice routine, like a practice routine on the guitar, into like I would into my life. I would get up and make breakfast, eat it, do this practice on the guitar, which would be my transition into music for the day. And then like part of that was like doing this thing on the computer in Studio One with the metronome, and that got me into getting into Studio One for the day, and I got into a nice little routine. It felt pretty good. And it was fun to like be able to integrate my life and playing guitar into it. That being said, on April 14th, 5 days after I announced the release date, and 1 month before the release date, I was not feeling too good about the album. I was feeling kind of shitty. I was not satisfied with the music at all. Like, everything sucks. Fuck, now what? What am I going to do? Like I was having trouble just in this room and like just feeling frustrated and like started looking into getting studio space, rehearsal space outside the house and like, Jesus Christ, maybe if I get out somewhere, maybe I can like focus on the album some more. All that because it was just so hard being frustrated on the album, being at home, excuse me, and being distracted. Like, fuck it, I'm going to go play with Mantequilla. I'm going to go like watch something on TV or like go to the bosque and walk around or, whatever. That was a little frustrating at that time early, like with about a month to go. I told the world, sort as it were, about the album's release and put a date to it. It was kind of a struggle figuring shit out. But like that was really a huge theme in the whole making of the album, having the space, having the time, like feeling comfortable, feeling safe. And like we both work from home and like there's a kitty in our lives and like this room kind of sucks and it's like getting fucking hot in here because of the sun and the west facing window in the afternoons when I like to work. Fucking tripping over mic stands and cables and like guitar stuff and god damn it. Stuff like that going on. So yeah, started looking into rehearsal space. It ultimately didn't pan out. I ultimately decided, fuck it. I'm going to just plow through and make it work, maybe at least through the end of the month and at least through the end of like the album cycle, May, let's say. And so got to a place where, okay, fine. Basically, it's going to work. And like I talked to Annie about it. And she's like, fine, I'll be more deliberate about spending time at the office, away from the house, and get this album done, et cetera, et cetera. Started watching this show Behind Her Eyes on Netflix. It was pretty good. Pretty good. Lucid dreaming and remote viewing themes of this television program. That's fun stuff. I figured out the big twist ahead of time, but that's fine. Still really good. At this time, and that was a good distraction from going in and feeling frustrated from the album. And then I would come out and like watching that show, I was able to let my subconscious sort of work on the album as I was focused on the TV show, on my stories. Every once in a while, raise up my chair. During that time, I started feeling like, there's a crack of light. The light being my feeling good about the album. Every once in a while, this crack would emerge, would open up, and like this light would come through, and I would feel good about the album. Yeah, things are starting to change. Like there are like good feelings popping up every once in a while. I bought some of my first cryptocurrency on April 17th. Yeah, that's a thing now. Today on May 21st, though, god damn, the markets fucking suck. And I'm like, everybody I know who knows anything about this shit says to just keep holding on. So here I am holding on. And honestly, it's not that bad. Yeah. And I believe in it. I'm having fun with it. That's the whole idea. And how grateful I am to be in a place where I can do that. I started really dialing in the mix for Everybody Needs To, the track 1 on the album featuring Annie on the 17th and 18th of April. Really dialing in those tracks. The high holidays, April 20th, 19th, and 20th came and went. The most uneventful high holidays for me in quite a while, actually. Man, this is all like stuff that's starting to feel like really recent now because it actually was. Like the album was pretty far from being done still at this point, but actually pretty recent. We watched Speed for the the second time with the kids. It's become like our go-to movie with them, which I don't know if that's a good thing, but here we are. There's a bomb in a bus. I remember watching that so many times when it came out in the theater. It was like the movie to watch that summer of, I believe, 94, right? Having lots of fun with the cryptocurrency. My relationship with money and my mindset around money is changing around this time. God, that feels good. It feels so good. All those stories, those old stories melting away and new stories emerging, which got to keep my eye on those, but they're so much better than the old ones. having fun with it. I eventually had my proper checkup and cleaning at the dentist. My teeth are so much nicer now. 13 or so cavities, something like that. It feels really good to get that shit taken care of after so long of not having that taken care of. We start finalizing our decision to get a different vehicle and hit the fucking road. There's momentum. Get that album done. We realize we keep staying in this house as a means of getting out of this house. There's this weird fucking cycle where it's like, okay, here's what we got to do. We're going to buy a house, or we're going to do whatever to get out of this house. But we got to save money or whatever. So we got to stay in this house because we're not going to find anything better. And so years pass and we're still in this fucking house. We just got to get out of the house, even if it means we aren't sure we're going to be able to pay less money or like keep our budget the same and all that. We just got to break that fucking cycle because that's the only way it's going to happen, right? That's the idea anyway. And that idea started to emerge around this time, mid to late April 2021. Man, I started really, really craving, like I said, it was an uneventful high holiday season. I started really craving a proper psychedelic experience again, too. Man, it's really weird how I've been mostly in a non-psychedelic space/place for so long. Like, it's really been a while. And for me, considering how my life has been like so tied to psychedelics for so many years now, since my awakening in 2015, like I've done a little microdosing and I haven't had a proper journey in a while. And like, I'm a little scared, and it's going to take some like easing my way back into it. It's really interesting. But I'm really craving it, especially late April. I sent my guitar pickups back to Fishman around that time. I started doing research for the next guitar around that time. Matitocaster 2, I'm wondering. Yeah, I started thinking, this is the thing I'm going to do. I'm going to buy something as a reward for completing the album. Further motivation. What will happen to the original Matitocaster, I'm wondering? Unclear. Got the second Moderna shot on April 29th. Ooh, that knocked me out. I was really sick for the next few days. Wasn't mixing the album. Damn. And it's the end of the month. We're coming up on May 1st, and it's like 2 weeks. I've got 2 weeks to get this done, which means 1 week to get it done because I'd like to get it sent off to the distributor in time for them to make sure it gets out to the streaming services and such. Oh, fuck. But anyway, I leaned into the feeling sick and the not being able to do much, the white blood cell stuff, and I watched the Pedal movie. That was fun. Watch the Pedal movie, you can. It's all about the people who make guitar effects pedals. Man, I actually bought it on YouTube so I can watch it anytime, and I will watch it anytime. Fuck, we're getting really, really close at this point. I'm going to take another sip of coffee. Pow. All right, let's get into May 2021. Excuse me, at this point, fixing the vocals in a big way, really dialing in, focusing, diving in and drilling in, choosing, fixing, and being really focused, careful, and deliberate with the vocals, really riding the volume to get the vocal amplitude right, the phrasing right, with the volume and how it fits in with the rest of the music, and bringing the rest of the music down into the places where it needed to come down to ensure that the vocal was highlighted properly. I spent a ton of time on this. Some might say too much time, and maybe I got a little obsessed, but I feel like it is one of the things that it's necessary. If an album's going to be good, I feel like that's something that has to happen, and that's something that needs to be spent on that. Like a lot of time needs to be spent on that. I'm glad I focused on that and prioritized that. Still doing so much tightening up. And that's around Cinco de Mayo, I have written here. The early part of the month, but fuck. The 7th is when I got to deliver it. Just tightening up, cleaning stuff up, cutting more and more stuff, being as much as I can unemotional about cutting stuff. God, there was so much that didn't end up on the album. Crazy. With just a few days to go, I was still not really mixing so much as preparing to mix. Still like technically kind of editing stuff. Like I wasn't doing any EQing or compression. Like I took all that shit out and like basically removed all the EQs and compressors and reverbs that I had set up on the mixes earlier. I said, fuck it. I'm going to make it sound as good as I possibly can, as great as I possibly can without any of that stuff. And that's what it was really about. Yeah, like no automation even, except for kind of writing the vocal stuff. Yeah, really, really crazy. I finally got what I felt like was a good static mix done on the evening of the 5th. I'm watching lots and lots of YouTube videos about mixing, learning things as I go, like things come up. And so I look it up and figure it out, just fucking powering through. We get to the final 4 days of mixing. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. May 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. Damn, like, man, time distortion. Like, thinking back about this now, it's so crazy. Fuck, man, I finally got everything on the same page. Like, I could go through each individual song file in Studio One, open it up, and feel like, okay, I feel good about this, and I feel as good about it as I do every other track on the album, every other song on the album. And I know exactly what I have to do, but I'm not like having to go back and do stuff on this track that I'm like way ahead of that on another track. Like I'm on the same page. That feels really good. And at this point, that allows me to like just kind of go through the tracks systematically, one by one, fixing, adjusting what I can, like super fucking focused, staying up super fucking late. Not getting as much done as I had hoped. Each day I would sit down, eat breakfast, and kind of like figure out, okay, what's realistic that I can get done today, given the timeline, given I need to upload this motherfucker. Like, I get it, I realized I'm not going to obviously get it uploaded on the 7th, but if I can get it uploaded Sunday night on the 9th, that'll fucking work. I hope. Ooh. And so I was like making notes about what I felt was realistic about what I could get done that day. And then every day it was not quite getting there. I was getting, but still somehow remaining on schedule, making progress and feeling like, yeah, I'm going to be able to deliver this Sunday night. It's funny how that shit works. Like you're not getting stuff done and yet you're getting stuff done. And it's like, oh, wow, I guess it's working. Making so many decisions, so many fucking decisions, exhausting work, making so many decisions, but staying focused. I started feeling so anxious, really feeling it in my stomach every day. Like especially the early part of the day where I'm making those notes and realizing I hadn't got done as much as I had hoped the previous day. And oh, fuck, it's already 2:00. Oh man, my stomach. Every day in those last 4 days, man, I could just take a day off and that would feel really good and it would be nurturing and like, oh, wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be so nice? Oh, you could just rest and hang out with mantequilla and watch a movie and like smoke bong hits. And then, it wouldn't be the worst thing to push it back to the 21st. But then it was like, oh no, then I knew that just wouldn't be possible because I would just feel anxious about, and then there's going to be one more week of this. Like it was just, no, I have to plow through, have to. Man, that time, that was something. I was getting done every day really early in the morning, like 2, 3, 4 in the morning. And then I would eat a hamburger. I would go out and fry a burger or eat a hot dog, smoke a bowl with a full belly and watch YouTube mixing videos between 3 and 4 a.m., 5 a.m. Oh my God. I got through the automation, all the stuff I wanted, like panning and volume stuff like that, and making sure I had all the fades, all that kind of stuff, like automating some effects here and there. as I think I had mentioned, I didn't use as many effects as I thought I would. I got that shit done. Damn. By the weekend, by the final 2 days, I was adding EQ, compression, reverb, delay, and more of the other effects. Yeah, again, like not as much of those spacey like verbs and delays and effects as I thought. There just simply wasn't enough time. But the important thing was that I was satisfied with the static mix, with the performances, with the rhythm, the pace, and like I was bobbing my head and tapping my feet, and that was the important thing. And I felt good about the vocals and the lead parts. And it's like kind of a blessing in disguise because I didn't get a chance to overdo any of that shit. Like I didn't get a chance to overdo it, nor did I feel like I had to compensate or overcompensate for anything, or compensate for anything, I should say, by using effects and reverbs and shit. Like I really, like looking back, it was actually the sweet spot. Like not enough time to overdo it, but like enough time to like add enough, or I don't know what I was saying. Whatever. Yeah, I had a dream with my old friend Liza in it on the 6th. Liza passed away in 1998. This album is dedicated to her, among others we have lost, other beloved people, other beloved beings. Shout out to Carmen. We lost Carmen since the album was released. I talked a little bit about her in the previous episode. She's my friend Darcy's precious, beautiful, amazing kitty cat. And she was almost 21 years old, and she left her body this past week, I think on Monday. An amazing, legendary, special animal. And, my heart hurts that she's no longer in the world. Special baby. I was thinking about adding her to the dedications, but then I thought, no, I think it's important. Like, Carmen was still around when I released this album, so that's pretty cool, right? I love you, Carmen, you sweetie. Oh, I'm crying. Yeah, special baby. Yeah. Yes, love your animals. Love your animals. Spend time with them. Give them your love. You're going to miss them when they're no longer around. Of course, they're still around, but man, it sucks that they're not in those cute, furry bodies. Yeah. Damn. Anyway, God, missing Liza too. Shit. I wish she could hear the album. All that. So yeah, I miss people. I miss beings a lot. Yeah. Whew. I put the old computer up for sale earlier in the month. Finally started to get some bites in the final days of mixing the album. We got our new car on Saturday, the 8th, as I'm going through the final mix. That was one of the things Annie was able to do to get out of the house and leave me alone here, was to go fucking buy a new car for us. She's so good at that shit. On Sunday, actually on Saturday night, I stayed up way late, and I actually got a master done through the algorithm, through Lander, which I will never use again for mastering an album, but that's how I decided it was going to be done this time, and it was really, excuse me, really the only way I could get this album done and mastered. I got a version done Saturday night, and but I really couldn't listen to it because it was too late, and I live in a house with my sweetie and a kitty. And so Sunday morning I listened to it and it was like, I got to fix some shit. And so fixed some shit, made another master, and we drove around with it on Sunday the 9th in the new car. Our big drive, like driving up the shitty road that goes to the top of the mountain in it. That was fun. Man, drove around. I made some notes on the mix, on the master. And then when we got back, ate some food and stayed up all night and made the final mix and made what ended up being the final master. I did a lot of tweaks that evening. I was so tired. I made the final mix. I made like two masters and had to decide between two of them. And it was after midnight. I could barely keep my eyes open. I chose the one I ended up with, which I feel good about that choice. And it was just like I had to trust. I had to trust that all the decisions, all those many decisions, that I did them intentionally. I respect my previous self and the decisions I made. I know I made them with the best interests of myself and my career and the album in mind. And so here's the master. Like, I know my ears are probably a little fucked up right now, and I got to write down these track names and make sure there are no typos, all that kind of shit. And so I uploaded it to DistroKid. It was like, I don't know, like 212, 215, like 220, something like that in the early morning hours of the 10th of May, 2021. I made sure all the notes and not notes, the titles were right, the credits were right. Lots of obsessive, tired ass checking and double checking and triple checking. But I finished the goddamn thing and I went to bed. Holy fuck. I think I had a hamburger again that night, that early morning, frying up a fucking burger before I went to bed at like 4:30 in the morning. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Monday and Tuesday, the album was finished, uploaded, out of my hands, nothing more I could do. And I didn't put any pressure on myself to do anything on those first couple of days after I uploaded it. I made a couple posts to social media. I interviewed Annie back on that Tuesday. But I just allowed myself to rest, and oh my God, it's listening to music just for fun. It was so good. It felt amazing. It sounded amazing. Just making myself some food, not feeling that anxiety, not feeling that awful feeling in my stomach. Just having let so much go. I was getting like these back spasms because I was hunched over the computer for so long. Now I have hiccups. So yeah, those couple days after finishing the album, oh, that was such a good feeling. I decided I didn't want to listen anymore in the couple days after I finished the album. Oh, so fucking sick of it. It's out there, out of my hands. I sold that laptop, the computer that most of the album was done on, the one I actually recorded all the parts on. Everything was recorded on that one and then mixed mostly out here on this new MacBook Air with the M1 processor. I sold it to a guy who was purchasing it for his daughter's birthday. Nice. This fella he's a public person, Robbie Rothschild. He's a solo singer-songwriter about my age, and he just released his first solo EP, 6 songs. And it felt kind of like making a connection, similar to how I felt meeting John from Deerhoof back in the summer of 2020 on that Craigslist and meeting in the parking lot of an Applebee's when I bought that pedal board and power supply. He's a fantastic musician and singer. It was really nice to meet him and chat and have that transaction, and it was really cool. His music is amazing. Look him up, Robbie Rothschild. Lots of synchronicities happening. Fun fact, Robbie knows Kip Winger, the Kip Winger of all people, who produced and mixed his album. Fun. His EP album, whatever. Interestingly, the astrology for this time is all about making connections, mixing it up with other people. This is definitely proving to be true. Fuck. That week also, I put the album up on Bandcamp for pre-order. People started buying it, and that was fun. It was up for pre-save on Spotify. I started finally getting notifications that, okay, it has been delivered to the stores. Everything has been approved. It's going to be released in time. Giving the Game away was the first single from the album. Basically, I put it out there. It was the song people could listen to if they went to Bandcamp or pre-ordered the album. Thursday, I started, like, I was working on these podcasts, making notes, and like it was getting late, and then Annie yelled out, "Oh my God, it's on Spotify!" And holy shit, it was on Spotify at like 10 o'clock Thursday night, on Thursday the 13th. And from that point on, holy fuck, it's out in the world. And now here we are. Here we are. Wow, that was the making of Microorganism, friends. Holy shit. Damn, I'm going to take a break here. And wow, here we are. It's May 21st now. The album's been out a week. And I've told the whole story of making it. And now I'm going to take a break, and then I'm going to come back, and we're going to get into tracks 6 and 7 on the album. Jump on Top of the World with Me, and Everybody Ascends, featuring Annie Sanchez. Please stay tuned. I'll be right back. Hey. Woo! I'm back. Back to talk about tracks 6 and 7 on my new album, Microorganism. Matt Colic, Microorganism. It's the first time an album has been released under the name Matt Colic. I am the first one to do it. I'm the first one who's ever done that. It contains 7 songs. I've talked about all the other songs in the previous episodes leading up to this one, episodes 20 and 21. You can get those on your favorite podcast platform. Whatever platform you use to listen to this, it's the same one you can use to listen to those. During the break, I noticed I got an email from Apple Music for Artists. The weekly recap, May 14th through 20, the first week Microorganism has been out there in the world. And this is just Apple Music. This is not Spotify or any other streaming service, but total number of plays, 65. 65 plays on Apple Music. Thank you for those of you who listen on Apple Music. Apple Music pays a little more than the other streaming services. It pays more than Spotify. And one Shazam. Apple Music for Artists is the platform through which artists can track how many Shazams they're getting. So, the app Shazam, which you hear a song playing and like, oh, what's that song? I think it's cool. So then you turn on your Shazam, and then the Shazam recognizes the song. That is something that people can do with my music. I had to pay a little extra for that. But yeah, if someone hears my song and Shazams it, it will come up. And so that has happened once since the album has been released. I think that was me doing that on the song Undercover All Along. The most played songs, the top 3. Everybody's Got a Beard of Bees these days, 14 plays. Everybody Needs To, featuring Annie Sanchez, 13 plays. And then Jump on Top of the World with Me, with 9 plays. Interesting. Like I said, Everybody's Got a Beard of Bees these days. This is kind of emerging as the kind of main standout track on the album. Of course, the number 2 song with 13 plays, Everybody Needs To, featuring Annie Sanchez. That is the first track on the album, so that's naturally the first track on any album gets a ton of plays. And then Jump on Top of the World with Me at number 3. Interesting. Top cities. Top 3, Los Angeles is number 1 with 23 plays. Thank you, LA. I love you. I love LA. I truly, honestly love LA. Albuquerque, number 2, 16 plays. And number 3, Chicago with 11 plays. Cool. Yeah. And that's the data I just received from Apple Music for Artists about the first week of Microorganism. I wanted to mention the title of today's episode of the podcast, episode 22 of the Matt Colic Show, is Jump on Top of Microorganism. So, we're going to have Annie Sanchez back to talk a little bit about the final track on the album, Everybody Ascends, and I have a little bit more to say about that, too. But let's get into Jump on Top of the World with Me, the penultimate song on the album. This one, much like the second track on the album, Everybody Needs It, was sort of a pain in the ass. This is one I knew all along all along that I wanted to just kind of be voice and guitar. Like, at a certain point in time, I plugged my Breedlove acoustic guitar, which has an onboard active pickup. I plugged it into this little 5-watt amplifier I have, and I thought, ooh, that sounds really cool. And I thought, when I thought it sounded really cool, that it would be cool to have Jump on Top of the World with Me be based on that guitar sound. So I recorded it, put the SM57 on the speaker. I believe it's a little 10-inch, or maybe I think it's an 8-inch speaker on that amplifier. Also split the sound of the guitar direct to the Focusrite interface and blended those two sounds. It's mostly the amplifier sound, and that's the guitar sound on that song. It's just this weird broken up kind of almost bad sounding, but not quite. It sounds kind of cool. I ended up doing that performance in just one take, kind of singing it in my head as I went along, trying to give it sort of the right arc of intensity and emotion with just the guitar performance that I would sing over later. And I think I talked about that as I went through the chronology of the making of the album. I used the flashing light as a metronome, the flashing light on the metronome app on the phone, so I didn't actually hear the metronome, but I could look down and refer to the light if I needed to kind of get back to home base of 45, I think it's 45 beats per minute, I believe. Or is it 42? No, I believe it's 45. Whatever. I added a little Marshall amp saturation to the guitar at the very beginning in that opening chord, which is like a D9. It is, I think I've mentioned this before, double drop D tuning on the guitar, so DAD, GBD. And that Marshall saturation sound, I kind of ramped that up. After that first chord, it dies down completely, and then it ramps up slowly into the climax of the song and then backs off again. And yeah, it's that Breedlove guitar through the Monoprice Stage Right amplifier, mixed with a direct signal a little bit. I don't think I've ever performed this one live. I thought this one would be super simple to mix. Like, I started with mixing this one and giving the game away, but really this one, because it's just vocals and guitar, and I have like all these vocal parts to choose from, and I've got this guitar part I'm happy with, and I wanted to have it ready for the Archives for Aliens podcast, and oops. But I got all the vocals done, got the layers figured out mostly. Like I said, there was no real lead vocals, so I ended up adding that with the dynamic microphone, just handheld. Like I said, I was playing some songs one day, liked the sound of my voice, so pulled up the song on the computer and fucking sang it. That worked, and this song obviously is the starting point for the final track of the album. It blends into, or Everybody Ascends, the final track on the album, blends out of this song. This song is, God, if not, it is one of the hardest songs in my catalog, in my repertoire of originals to sing, if not the hardest one to sing. I don't know if I will do it ever live. It's just such a pain in the ass. Like, I can't just, and I couldn't have it like just a straight up natural vocal performance if you've heard the album. Like, I had to do a lot of stuff to it to kind of make it so it sounded good. Talk about pitch correction. Actually, not as much as you might think. This one didn't have as much as other songs, but there was definitely pitch correction involved in the process of getting that vocal right. And I never really even thought about like what a band arrangement of this song would be, but even though this wasn't one of the original songs I thought would be on the album when I conceived it back in March of 2020, not long after I added it to the track list, it became like sort of what the album was about in a lot of ways. Like, how can I get a good version of this song done and out there? And then this will be like, I can be done with this song. I won't have to worry about doing it live because like I have a version out there. I feel good about it and done. So that became a lot of what this album was about. If I could finish this album, that meant I could finish Jump on Top of the World with Me and have a version of it out there in the world that I felt good about. Yeah. Yeah, so that's how this song is and how it will be. The tempo did change. I did think, here I have it written down, 42 was too slow, 60 too fast. I settled in at 45 beats per minute. With the tempos, I do numbers that are divisible by 3, divisible evenly by 3. So that's why we have 42 and 60 and 45 and things like that. 87 for one song, 93 for another, 120, 111. These are the tempos I like. The climax section of the song, the section where I had to record a lead vocal eventually, after the main vocal parts had already been recorded. You can hear the screamy parts in the background. Man, I spent so much time standing in front of the microphone screaming, thinking that's what would be the main part, but that did not work for the main part at all. It's like unarticulate, kind of lacking clarity, but it's like, it works well as like character, as color underneath. So yeah. Not usable parts. I thought they were really good and usable after I recorded them. I even wrote down, those scream parts are really good and usable. They were not. But I'm glad I recognized that and eventually recorded that main part. And like I said, they're still there, adding color, emotion, all that. Not the main thing, though. Guys. Yeah, I want to talk about Everybody Ascends, but first I want to talk about kind of the production of the 2 Annie tracks. You heard Annie talk about Everybody Needs To, featuring Annie Sanchez, on episode 20 of the podcast, but I didn't really get into my thoughts about it, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to take a sip of water here.
To feel love, joy, and
yeah, how about a sip of coffee, too? So much coffee, man.
pain reminds us of our humanness.
So,
what love
Everybody Needs To, man, the bass line in that one changed a lot. It was going to be just me playing bass guitar, just nice natural tone on the bass guitar, like this bouncy little part, kind of a heartbeat part of do-dum, 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 do-dum. But after I started arranging the vocals and like, putting the song together, and I realized, fuck, that does not work. It kind of takes away from what the energy of the song wants to be. It kind of makes it sound slower and less exciting than what it needs to be. And so I took that bass part out that I spent so much time getting right. And I ended up with this synth part. I just found a synth patch I liked, and then there was this like envelope pattern generator thing that you can do, and that's how it ends up with the which gave it a lot more energy, a lot more momentum. I don't know, honestly, if it works the best with the parts, the percussion and everything that I recorded. There are some parts of the song where it feels like it kind of breaks down a little bit, or it's about to break down. And my water just almost spilled everywhere. But I'm just waving my hands around as I talk, which is what I do. One of these days, we're going to get video on the Matt Colic Show podcast. But it's one where I listen to it and I feel like it sounds like it's about to break down in certain parts, but fuck it. That's part of the charm of it. It's like a thing that wants to exist, and it's like getting up and running, and it's like stumbling a little bit, and it's there to kind of present some amazing ideas and some cool, like I talked about early in the podcast, so much depth to what Annie had to say in the part that she wrote and performs in this song, Everybody Needs To. So I changed the bass line. The idea for both of these tracks, the bookend tracks of the album, the Annie tracks, was to kind of start small and build and build and build and bring stuff in layers.
To be
I think of Everybody
seen,
Needs to kind of as an overture. I think
to feel love,
a lot of the stuff
joy,
on that
and
track is
pain.
stuff that does show up later on the album. If you listen closely, like it introduces like the weird
Pain reminds
like
us
household
of
items
our
as percussion and stuff like that, and
what
a lot of the
love
parts.
and joy
And a lot of like there's slide guitar there's different
that
electric
we
guitar and
are
acoustic guitar
alive.
parts, and
We are
me
alive.
singing
I am
all
no
that kind of stuff
different
is
than you.
present there
I am no different than you.
in a way that that primes the listener to expect those sounds, those textures later in the album. At least that was the idea of it, and to build all that up in layers.
We
Yeah, honestly,
are
I think about these two tracks and doing,
love, laugh.
because they're not conventional. They're not songs. They're like spoken word performances supported by music.
We are
And so
not
looking back, if I had
strangers.
chosen to do conventional
We are
songs
one
instead, I have a lot of songs. I've written a bunch. I could have picked a couple songs to add and done those, but I thought it would be easier to just extend the album out to 7 songs and closer to a half hour by doing spoken word things and like just composing some simple music to go with it, and like enlisting Annie, and
You are me.
but it was a challenge. It was a challenge, and like just kind of arranging those vocal parts to like fit in nicely with the rhythm of the songs and
More than us.
all that. That was a lot more, and I really, really wanted to honor, because it wasn't me. It was even more important to make sure Annie sounded good. Like she got us most of the way there with her performance, but like there's stuff with production that can really liven up a vocal performance and make it sound good and make it sit well in a mix and make it fit well with the music, and and to fit well rhythmically with the music especially. There was a lot to do on my end to honor the performance that she gave and to make sure
More than her.
she's happy with what came out. And so
I am her.
yeah, it was a lot. Maybe it could have been faster and
I
wouldn't have been better, but it would have been maybe faster and easier to do if I just added a couple of quote unquote conventional songs. But
everybody
I'm so grateful to have had Annie on the album, and thankful for her contributions. Like that's what makes it an album. That's what gives it depth and dimension.
feel love, joy, and pain.
That first track on the album is 120 beats per minute. It's the fastest track on the album. It's
Pain
crazy that
reminds
like
us of
the
our
the tempos on this album are generally
love
kind of
and
slow.
joy and
And after the first 2 songs, especially,
we
really
are
kind of
alive.
kind of like mid-tempo at best.
I am no
120 is the fastest. It's interesting, and as when I'm out there playing songs on the acoustic guitar and breweries and such, I play a lot of stuff that's over 200 beats per minute, and a lot of people like notice that I must be influenced by punk rock. This album doesn't really represent any of that. It's interesting.
are a need to
Yeah.
love.
Annie's voice. I wanted her natural voice to be the thing, but wanted to like kind of elevate it. Wanted to do some pitch shifting and layers, do some staggering of the vocal parts, different takes that there were to work with. There's the what's happening at the end of Everybody Ascends that I wanted to like stick in there. That
Family.
wasn't like something that was planned. I just had it recorded and caught it on the microphone that day. So I put a delay on it, and like, whew, that's a fun way to close the album. I love it.
We are her.
Yeah, the first thing was to kind of place the phrases within the music in the song, like visually, like to parse it out uniformly throughout the song, and then like go in and arrange it so it lined up rhythmically. Annie didn't perform to the music, but it really worked out well the way she paced it, generally speaking, and that's because she is a music person. Even if music is not her main thing, and even if she's not
She loves
a musician, she is a music person. And I love that this brings her more into my world. Annie even has her own Spotify profile now. We got to get that updated with the proper information and bio and photos and everything. And we have to get her signed up for ASCAP too, so she can collect her share of the songwriting royalties. How cool is that? That's really fucking cool. So yeah, getting these two mixed properly was really important. These two were the bookend tracks again, 1 and 7. They were the first rough mixes I got done and ready to listen to. we listened to Everybody Needs To in the car one day.
Everybody
Like
needs
several weeks, like probably 3 weeks before I really got in, or before the release of the
to be
album.
seen,
Probably 3 weeks before,
to
maybe
feel
4 weeks
love,
before.
joy, and
No, 3 weeks before that the day we drove around and actually listened to the album and the final day of
pain
mixing.
reminds us
Man, there was just too much reverb,
what
but it was
love
actually
and
pretty close to how it
joy
ended up turning out.
are.
That was like the first car mix I
That
made.
we are
And he had some really useful and creatively correct notes about like the
I am
layering
no
of
different
stuff
than
and how
you.
the song
I am no
built up.
different than you.
The beat used to come in a
are
lot
no
sooner.
different
Everything was a little more impatient, and she urged me to make things more patient, have things build a little more slower, and that worked out. Like there's the breathing on that track, which is me breathing, but then I pitched it down like 2 steps or something like that.
Connect.
She encouraged me to have that be kind of the main rhythmic thing for longer with her voice. So that was really cool.
We are not
I'm really proud of her for like not being freaked out by some of the creative choices I made, like leaving the what's happening and
from being
like there's some choices I made and like she's like cool. That's cool. It's on the album. Like she wasn't embarrassed by it, and now it's out there. Really happy about that.
we
Eventually, I played both of the songs, both of the Annie tracks for the kids. I noticed Kaikala was dancing around. He is the one who is probably the most touched by music. They're all musical kids, but I think he's the one who's got the music in him the most. One of his attributes. And like he was feeling the rhythm, feeling the beat, and dancing around. So, boy, that was a really good time. And a good sign. Tried to use as many instruments as possible, especially on this first one. Everybody needs to.
yells.
The very first guitar I ever played on when I was a boy that I found in the basement growing up, this Del Rey nylon string acoustic guitar, which was never used as a guitar on the album, but it was used as percussion, and that's kind of the flange. Like that thing, that's an acoustic guitar that I did a bunch of like severe EQing and flanging on. It got used there. I think I used every, like the electric guitar, the bass, even though I cut the bass out, I used the Breed Love and the K, and like all the percussion I ended up using on the album was used on that song, track 1.
To feel love, joy, and
On Everybody Ascends, the guitar part is obviously derived from the Jump on Top of the World with Me guitar part, but it goes to some different places. It's like a variation on that, obviously. And with this one, I did do the click track. So I did Everybody Ascends,
joy.
or rather, Jump on Top of the World with Me with the click light, showing the tempo, and then Everybody Ascends with the actual click track to get like, because there's percussion and drums, and I wanted it to, to get it right and to get it steady throughout the duration of the track.
Minds collectively open in and
All right,
out
we're almost there. We're almost there.
Division.
Ah, yeah.
Fear.
So, I recorded the guitar part for Everybody Ascends, which is very similar, but I recorded it
Already have
with the same setup on a different day than when I recorded Jump on Top of the World with Me.
like we are lacking.
Same setup. I added the K guitar, playing a part farther up the neck. I added that a little later on.
Ancestral wisdom
Yeah.
collectively
Back to
pulsates.
Everybody Needs To. The idea with that one was to oscillate sort of between B flat and C, because it was going to go directly into Everybody Needs It, which is in the key of D. So I wanted to kind of hang out in a certain space, going back and forth, B flat, C, B flat, and then from C up into D, a brand new place it hadn't been up to that point. So that was the idea. I don't know if that's kind of how it comes off, but that's why it's in the, like, it oscillates between B flat and C. That's why I chose those keys.
Near and far,
Yeah, I had to change
here and there.
Everybody Needs It to match Everybody Needs To. So you heard me talking about how I changed Everybody Needs It from a cappella to something with instruments. So I had to keep that energy up.
We exist
that was like those two have to work together, and so that's how it ended up being what it ended up being. Everybody Ascends, I wanted that to be like Jump on Top of the World with Me, as you heard me say on Jasmine's Archives for Aliens podcast. Like it's post-apocalyptic, and so I wanted that to be the vibe of Everybody Ascends too. I wanted it to be like abrupt in its ending, which it is. I don't think there's any keyboards on it. It's like organic. Everything is like actual audio recorded with a microphone. I think there's like a fake snare drum and a fake kick drum. Yeah, but that's it. And post-apocalyptic, like, oh my God, we're in the world. It's ended. What are we gonna do now? That was the idea behind the music. And then it just ends. It cuts off. It doesn't fade out. Cuts off, and Annie's voice goes off into oblivion. I need to take a break. I'm about to bump up into some files that I don't want to record over. Just a second. Okay. Post-apocalyptic. I heard Bob Mould of the band Husker Du. Maybe I read this. He said one of the things he likes to do is leave people feeling like, oh my God, is he okay? At the end of his albums. I think that's pretty cool. And so that was kind of the idea with the end of this album too, like to kind of end abruptly and to have Annie's voice kind of back into space, into oblivion, and like, oh my God, what's happening? And hopefully that gets people, that's one of the things that primes and prompts people to listen again. It's a very, very highly re-listenable album, isn't it? Microorganism by Matt Kollock. I'm really proud of it. I'm really proud of how Everybody Ascends keeps building and building, and like I did a really good job with that. I think I'm proud of how it turned out, how it completes the album. I hope people make it this far. It's the song on the album that is the least listened to because it is the last song. That's just kind of how it works. But I feel like people who make it that far, who take the journey from track 1 all the way straight through track 7, that 27 minutes and 55 seconds or whatever it is, I think they're rewarded by making it all the way through. So thank you, Annie. Thank you for your contributions to the album. Let's get back to that interview with Annie Sanchez, who is on Everybody Ascends. After the interview segment, I'm going to come back and wrap up the episode. So stick around, friends. Be right back.
Community, near and far. Impact here and there.
Friends, I have Annie Sanchez back. Annie Sanchez back on the Matt Kollock Show today, episode 22. We're talking about track 7 on the album, which is called Everybody Ascends. The final track on the album. It's one of the pieces that I had Annie write the words for and perform. You heard her talk about track 1, Everybody Needs To, on episode 20. I'm going to... Hey, Annie, how's it going?
Good.
Welcome back to the show. Everybody Ascends comes out of the song... Jump on Top of the World with Me, and then which fades out, and then it fades back in with a similar guitar part, and then you start talking about how everybody...
Safety.
I'm going to hand you this and show you these words, and what do you think as you take a look at those words? What does that make you feel like?
Now and tomorrow, for as many generations as
They're inspiring. Like I would read this and be like, "Oh, I want this on like dry erase board." Did I say last time we talked that the other piece was the light one or the dark one?
You said the other one was the dark one, and then I interpreted it as the light. I put it in the light one spot, and I put this one in the dark one spot.
Yeah, and as I'm reading this, I'm feeling a lightness.
Really? Okay.
Which is what was behind the writing.
Because the music it goes to is definitely the more like heavy, somber piece. It's not the lighter piece. That's interesting. I like it better that way. Contrast.
Yeah, they're still relevant. they make sense to me today.
Yeah.
In the same, and I can remember writing them. Literally sitting on the bank of the Rio Grande, right near, on the Bosque here by our house, and I can remember the day that I wrote them. This one took a little while to get to. I think it was like, I wrote them maybe 6 weeks after the first one, the first piece. But as I'm looking at these words on your iPad right now, I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember that. And it feels right still and applicable now, today.
Everybody Ascends. That's what I chose as the track title. You didn't call the piece that. Which is the final line in the piece. What do you mean when you say everybody ascends at the end? What's on your mind when you say that?
Everybody knows ancestral wisdom.
It's like multifold. We all die. We all ascend to a different realm eventually when we leave our bodies. We all do ascend in our lifetimes, whether we resist it or not. We shift and change and morph and grow, even when it doesn't seem like we are. But definitely, it is. I know the intent, and it feels true now. Like, we all die. I mean, really, at the heart of it, we all die. So what are we doing right now? What do we have right now? What do we feel right now? What do we need right now? Because actually that's what matters in this moment.
How did it feel when you heard the piece for the first time, with your voice matched up with the music and everything I did with it?
I started crying. I remember crying when we recorded it too. The first take brought tears, like, which caught me both times. Caught me off guard. Caught me off guard during recording. Like, whoa, the first. I think maybe this was the first one we recorded. Did we start with this one?
I don't remember. I seem to remember it the other way around, but you could be right.
But either way, I know that I cried, like just in a little short spurt, like this wave of emotion came over me, reciting them, these words, many months after writing them, after all the things that have occurred over the course of last year had happened, and then hearing it for the first time after you had mixed it, recently, was like, whoa. It's like out of body. Because it touches on a different side of me. I really, really love writing. Every time I write a blog post, I'm like, I really should blog more. This feels really good to write and to share my thoughts. I love writing my email newsletters. Like, newsletter's not even the right word. Like, it's like I'm often thinking of things in the moment, at the moment. I'm like, I'm going to write a thing. I'm going to email my people and I'll do it. And I'm constantly getting people's responses like, oh my God, it feels like you're writing to me. And it's like, I am in a lot of ways. So I know there's a creative person inside of me, but I haven't necessarily associated myself as a creative writer. And I'm not suggesting that I am right in this moment either. But there is this interesting creative side of me that I'm like, oh, yeah, that's there too. She's in there too. Yeah.
That's beautiful, baby. Thank you. Yeah, and there's absolutely the creative side. I think that's a part of you that doesn't get quite as much sunshine as other parts, and I'm happy to have provided an opportunity for you to express that. So thank you for contributing to Microorganism. Thank you for being a part of the podcast. Anything else, and where can people find you?
I just want to thank you for inviting me into your album, your debut album, to share the space with you in the little way that I did is like a true privilege. So thank you for including me, for thinking that what I could possibly contribute would be worthy of what you were making, what you've made. And I'm just so excited that it exists in the world now and that people get to see the type of creative person that you are. So thank you. Thank you for including me. Thank you for inviting me on the podcast. Thank you for sharing this life with me, for choosing me over and over. People can find me On my website is the best place. I actually have 3 websites, but mariposastrategies.com or anniesanchez.co are the best places. claritypages.com too. I'm on Instagram a lot, especially in my stories. Yeah.
Excellent. Who's your favorite musical artist?
Erykah Badu.
Okay. Who's your favorite rapper who you almost married?
Common. Obviously.
Okay. All right. Anything else you'd like to add?
If you die early, I may still marry him. Just I love you, and I'm so proud of you.
I'm proud of you too, baby. I love you too. Thank you. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Everybody ascends.
What's happening?
Okay. Wow, that was really nice. It was nice to have Annie back. How about that Annie Sanchez, without whom microorganism would not be as cool as it is. Thank you, Annie. You can check Annie out at and her work and everything she does at mariposastrategies.com. She also has Annie Sanchez. I think it's a .com. Damn it, I should know that. Anyway, mariposastrategies.com is the best way to check out what she's up to. Eventually, we'll get that Spotify profile taken care of, so you can check her out there. Who knows? This could just be the beginning of a brilliant recording career for Annie. Thank you so much for listening. This has been episode 22 of the Matt Kollock Show podcast. Jump on top of microorganism. Speaking of which, jump on top of that fucking album. Let's get those streams up. It's available for streaming on virtually every streaming service worldwide. So whatever you stream on, find the album, listen to it. Listen to it again if you like it. Add it to some playlists. Tell your friends. Of course, we're going to be talking a lot more about the album coming up in the coming weeks and months here on the Matt Kollock Show and elsewhere. Stay tuned for more information on the 700 challenge that I'm excited to get you guys involved in. I really appreciate the response so far to microorganism. It's been amazing, just amazing. My expectations were very low to non-existent, and like people have really been like overwhelmingly positive in their response to it and purchasing the album, listening to it repeatedly, and like giving me compliments and like not just saying nice things, but actually saying things that are like, oh my God, you listen to the album and like you get what I'm going for. Yes, it works. That's very, very satisfying. I heard from John Dietrich from Deerhoof, who listened to the album. He said he was blown away and he thought it was inspiring. Amazing. Like, John, your music is super fucking inspiring too, obviously. Deerhoof's music is like very close to my heart. Good times. So thank you. Let's jump on microorganism and keep riding that fucker. Get on the mailing list. Go to the website, mattkollock.com, mattkollock.com, patreon.com/Matt Kollock. Like I always say, there's going to be more stuff over there. Patreon is going to be very important in the coming months as we do the 700 challenge. The album is available on Bandcamp for $7 or more. You can listen to it on your streaming service of choice. It's also available for $7 on the website. Bandcamp does allow you to pay more for the album. So if you want to give me a little more money for the album, use Bandcamp. However, if you buy it from my website, there's less of a cut taken for the transaction if you can only afford to pay $7 for it. So that's the deal with that. Yeah. I don't know when the next episode of the podcast is going to be. I've been talking to some people who are interested in, and I'm interested in having on as guests, and so some stuff is actually in the works. Stay tuned for that. Wow, I didn't think this one was going to be more than 2 hours again, but here we are. This concludes Microorganism Release Week, Friday, May 21st. Jump on top of Microorganism. Friends, I love you so much. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your support of me and my career in the album. We're entering a new phase now, and it's very, very exciting. Like, the songs have been written. I've gotten myself into performance shape. I've risen to so many new levels in so many areas of my life and my music, alongside my partner Annie, who is such a big, significant and huge part of this album, the experience of making it. I'm just rambling now. I'm going to go. Thank you so much, friends. We'll see you next time. This has been episode 22 of The Matt Collins Show. I love you. Peace out. Shine on.